Welcome back, everybody, to another week where we share when God speaks. I'm Enrique, Madelaine, my co-host, and we're going to be talking about a topic and we've been discussing, trying to figure out what exactly to kind of catalog this in, and we settled on the power in quiet strength. Now, it's funny to think that power, you know, something, you know, forceful, something big can be in a quiet person, but I have seen it time and time again where this quiet person comes out of the shadows. Everybody's waiting for them to say something, and then they speak, and things happen, right? um, and I'm gonna start with sharing a dream that I had, and we had not discussed this earlier. This just came to me right now, talking about quietness. Back in, I would say it was 2000, so it's been a while ago. And if anybody knows me, I don't remember dreams too well because I often say I don't dream. I'm sure I do. I just don't remember them. But this one in particular, still to today, is vivid in my mind. I had a dream that I was walking forward, and as I was walking forward, it was like a white cloud. It was like a haze in front of me. And as I was walking forward, the haze started to dissipate. And the first thing that I saw was a mic and a podium. That was the very first thing that I saw. And as I was headed to that mic and that podium, I noticed that I was on a stage. And that as the haze started and continued to dissipate, I noticed that now I was in an arena, a stadium. And when I started looking back and forth and around me, I could see it was like a football arena, huge, huge arena. And then the haze completely dissipated and it was jam packed. There was no seat available in that arena. Everybody was quiet. So imagine that, an arena full of people and nobody was saying anything. And I quickly realized that they were there to listen to what I had to say. There was no commotion, there was nothing. And I was there to deliver a message. Now, the message that I was delivering wasn't a good message, right? It was actually, and I'll tell you here, it was actually a message to America, and I was the spokesperson for God, and I was bringing news of what God was saying. Talk about when God speaks, and the message was this. And I'll say this, and I'll try not to choke up because it still affects me in a way because the way I'm seeing things right here in the States. I said, this is what the Lord is saying. You were once humble in your own eyes, but now I have chosen for myself another nation. And I did not even finish the sentence before this whole entire stadium began to wail and cry, and just it was overcome with grief when I proclaimed what God was saying. Now I'm going to go back and say that this was a dream, right? In case you caught that message midstream there. But it was a dream, and I remember that till this day, because I've never had a dream like that ever again. And it was around 2000 when it happened. But what struck me when we was deciding on what title to give this session, the power in quiet strength, that was an example of a moment where a strong message was coming. You were the representative, and you had to bring this thing. So you have to have some type of courage, and everything was quiet. I didn't go out there preaching, yelling, throwing stuff or anything like that. It was very quiet. It was very somber. Everything was still, but the message was powerful. There was power in that quiet moment. And you and I, Madelaine, was discussing different examples of corporate settings where we see people that are quiet but have a reserved power, that when they speak, things happen. And I'll share another story after I let you go ahead and share on the power in quiet strength.
Enrique, I've found, and I still find in coaching people to step in, to improve on their self esteem, that it actually starts with that quiet strength that we so often either see as weak or we so often not even in touch with because we are so focused on what's out there and not focused on what's in here. So, quiet strength to me is literally knowing those self exactly as you are, knowing your strengths and your skills, your weaknesses, be happy and accepting of the self, and then obviously your connection, because that brings in that sort of, it's the quiet strength brings in a certain amount of quiet intelligence. So in other words, you listen better and speak less, so you pick up more and you understand better what people are actually saying behind their words. And I have seen that in leaders who do not do that, and they cannot lead
Mm.
because they make assumptions and then they make the wrong assumption and they make decisions on the wrong assumption and it goes haywire. So the quiet strength's got a lot to do with your with self-esteem, improved personal or emotional intelligence, knowing that you've got it in you. You don't need to stand there and be the lion in
Mhm.
everybody's face. But when you do act and speak, people listen because they respect what you say. So there's power in a quiet strength more than there's no power in going overboard and just speak and not listening. And I believe you often see I talk about spiritual intelligence. And that is part of spiritual intelligence, is your quiet strength and your inner wisdom is part of spiritual intelligence. It's like you really believe in yourself. You really are connected, so you know you're okay. You really listen to every word that other people say. And then when you speak, your inner wisdom comes through your quiet strength, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And as you talking, I realized that there were a lot of moments in my life where when I stepped into rooms, the whole environment changed. I remember this story that I shared with you earlier. Sitting as the senior enlisted advisor to the commanding officer, uh, and I would sit, and there was always a seating structure there, and the skipper or the captain would sit in the middle, at the head of the table, and then he would have me on the right and the executive officer on the left, and there would be everybody would be department heads, and they would be representatives of their own department. So they're alphas, a bunch of alphas in that room, and uh, and the skipper always left me for last. So during the whole entire session, I would say not much, um, unless the skipper immediately just asked me or a question was asked to me specifically. But most of the time, I would not say anything to the very end. And the skipper always so graciously, right? Because that position is just so humbling, that the guy in charge of the whole thing would defer to you for a moment, right? To ask what you thought about what was discussed. But it was always at the end. And so all along you would stay quiet because of what you just said. You pick up on things. You're able to listen to the undertones in what people are saying and how they're saying. You get to see their face and their body language. You pick up so much from that. And it's amazing. Other instances have been I've stepped into a room and people got quiet, not because I would be barking or anything, just because of what you mentioned earlier. There was a level of respect behind the person coming in, and you. I love that you brought up spiritual intelligence. Let me tell you something. Your spirit got there before you got there. Your environment, whatever you bringing with you, got to that room before you did. And because um, it wasn't the rank, although I had higher rank, I had a higher position. It was what I was bringing into that room that everything else got in line with. And so, as leaders, when we're talking about leadership, what are you bringing into rooms that is causing chaos? Because I've seen some meetings that have gone almost, fist to cuff, and you're looking around like, what is this? Who who's in charge here? But that spiritual intelligence, I love that. That goes ahead of you, ahead of anything that we bring physically, and it can set the tone for the whole entire meeting or the whole entire process or whatever it is that you're in at the moment. That is powerful.
Spiritual intelligence is more important than any other intelligence, emotional intelligence, or whatever they want to call IQ. I don't believe in it because I don't believe we get clever and not so clever people. It all depends on environment, development, stimulation, circumstances, to be fair to everybody. But anyway, spiritual intelligence is probably the most neglected part of any human being. And that's why 10% of the population worldwide are successful and the 90% is not. Because our programming is to rely on other people for your success, for approval, for everything that you want, instead of tapping into developing your spiritual intelligence and tapping into that. Because ultimately, nothing can beat that. You can have 10 degrees, you can do what you like. If you're not spiritually connected, you do not have, you're not tapping into the source that's there already. And that's why I love to work with women in powerful positions, because I've been there myself. You neglect that side. You lose your identity through all the roles that you need to play to keep everybody happy and perform and be successful. But the spiritual intelligence side, you never feed. So if you don't feed that, you won't have the quiet strength that comes through. You will react instead of act. You will hear, but you won't hear because you already make the assumption in your mind when somebody started to speak. And those are always the wrong assumption,
Right.
because you're so eager to speak and you're so full of anxiety. But when you tap into your quiet strength, there's no anxiety. You are fully in charge of your now. You're living your life in your now. and your decisions are different. And that is why it's so important to really and truly develop the quiet strength, to really and truly think about your spiritual intelligence, because your spiritual intelligence is all about your inner architecture. Who are you? How do you act towards people? Where is your wisdom and your strength coming from? And most people always feel they're lacking the strength. That's why they become anxious. They lack strength, so they become depressed because how am I going to cope with this? And their relationships are wobbly or fail because the inner strength is not developed enough to really see the people for who they are, or the person in their life for who they are, accept them, love them for who they are, knowing they are as good as you are in this situation. But people always want to change each other. It's because their inner strength is not fed. There's something missing. And that is the spiritual intelligence. It's really, really anchoring us in that inner strength. And that's something that shows, and it's normally the most quiet people in the room. And then when they start to speak, you go, what? I didn't expect this. Because they don't need to show, they don't need to be the loudest. They don't need to arrive in a fancy car because they have it here already.
Yeah, I've seen instances where you have a presenter that, you know, they just go and go and go and go and go, and then one person that has been quiet all along will say one thing, and that's what everybody remembered. That was it, because it was so potent. That comment that was given took everything into account into one uh initial and potent comment that it resonated with everyone. And the speaker that was just going on and on and on, they were just going on. That's it. And so everybody just remember what this one person said that was so powerful. And we're talking about the power and quiet strength. Um, it's not always the noise. It's
Mm.
not. It's not all in that. There are times where it may call for noise, right? Every situation is different. Everybody is different, but you will often see the most impact come from those that reserve, and they actually deposit whatever it is they're going to give for that moment at the exact time that it's needed. And it's wonderful to see it play out. Uh, you know, we have so many world leaders uh, that have come and gone, and most of the ones that you remember are the ones that had quiet strength, and it's amazing.
Yeah. It's very important for a leader, but it's actually something everybody needs to develop because we're living in chaos and there's a lot of noise out there.
Hmm.
So you have a choice. You can either get sucked into this chaos and into the noise that will absolutely emotionally drain you and finish your nervous system in total and rob you of your dreams for the future. Or you develop your spiritual intelligence and you tap into your quiet strength and you start to develop that and you just go the other way. So while they are still in chaos, you already sorted your life out and you're carving a different road for yourself. And that's the beauty about spiritual intelligence and inner strength is you do not get caught up in the chaos around you because you know that there's another road to take.
That's powerful. Well, folks, I hope you have enjoyed this session where we've covered the power in quiet strength. Uh, and, emotional intelligence is one thing, and it's out there, it's practiced, but spiritual intelligence, no one is talking about, at least in the arenas that I am in lately here, but it is vital. So, if you want to learn more about spiritual intelligence, please contact us, Madelaine and I. Our email is whengodspeaks@gmail.com. Or you could send some comments here on the show. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And we would greatly appreciate that. And I just want to tell you that there is power in the quietness. And we thank you so much for joining us. Madelaine, any departing words?
Well, I would like everybody to support us, share the video, because I'm sure it will touch somebody that might not feel so good for the day and then realize, but wait a minute, I can tap into my inner strength. It's there. But if you want to know more about spiritual intelligence, please contact us, because I've built it into my I Am program, and it's all part of developing your I Am from the inside. That's where success starts, is the I Am. And until next time. And thank you very much, Enrique, for joining me.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Be blessed.